Hello, friends. Welcome to Gardening Mindfully. I'm Zenith, and I hope you're having an amazing day. In this video, we're going to talk about my favorite tropical perennial shrub, Thyrallis.
The botanical name for Thyrallis is Galphimia glauca. It's native to Mexico and Central America, and it's known by common names such as showers of gold, golden showers, and even rain of gold.
Thyrallis is hardy in zones 9 to 11. In those zones, your Thyrallis will bloom profusely all year long, and you will have a sea. That was a butterfly. And you will have a sea or a shower of gold.
Thyrallis gets its common name, showers of gold, because when the plant is covered with these tiny yellow blooms, it gives the appearance of pure gold.
Taking a closer look at the Thyrallis, you will notice that its branches and stems are woody, so it's a woody ornamental shrub. However, these branches tend to be brittle, so it's important when handling your Thyrallis to be careful so the branches and stems doesn't break. Now, if you look at the blooms, the flowers are not large. They are tiny and really dainty looking.
Although they are small, the tiny yellow blooms are eye-catching because they tend to bloom in clusters.
It also has a slight sweet fragrance. I tend to like that fragrance for the simple fact that the deers tend to stay away. Deers tend to not like plants that has any kind of fragrance or where the leaves are furry. So they will stay away from your mint, your garlic, your chives, your thyrallis, anything that has a fragrance. So that's one of the reasons why I love this plant. Now, when it's finished flowering, you will notice that it has some tiny berries.
Here you'll see that the berries are green, and then it will take on a darker appearance as it becomes dry.
So it will go from green to yellow, then it becomes really dark, and this is where the seeds are. And Thyrallis is one plant that can easily be propagated from seed. You can also propagate your Thyrallis from stem cuttings, but I prefer to propagate it from seed. And I have shared quite a few seedlings from this one plant, which by the way is only 3 years old. So what I'll do with these seeds is that I'll go ahead and just sprinkle it on top of my soil and it will sprout and become seedlings. And I will have more plants to share. So our friends in Orlando and Houston who are in Zone 9A, they can clearly grow their Thyrallis outdoors in their landscape, and they will be able to enjoy the sea of gold virtually all year long. For us here in Zone 8A, our Thyrallis will bloom on and off from spring until first frost. So here we are, it is late October, and my Thyrallis is blooming, but I don't have the profusion of yellow because I'm in zone 8A. Now, another thing you'll notice about the leaves tend to take on a reddish tinge once the weather starts to get cold. So it's hovering in the 40s, 50s most nights here in zone 8A. So you'll see that reddish tinge on the tip of the leaves of the Thyrallis plant.
Here you're seeing the red tinge on the leaves due to the cooler temperatures we are experiencing in Zone 8A.
Now let's talk about how to care and maintain your Thyrallis plant. So again, my Thyrallis plant is growing in a container. That way I can easily move it around in my garden. And I can also bring it in at the first sign of frost. As far as temperature, your Thyrallis will perform best in full sun, which is 6 to 8 hours of full direct sunlight every day. When it comes to watering, when established, if grown in the landscape, your Thyrallis will be pretty much drought tolerant. For me, since I'm growing it in a container, I'll water my Thyrallis plant once weekly. However, I'll water my Thyrallis plant only when it gets dry. So how do I check to make sure it's time to water my Thyrallis? I'll take my index finger and I'll go down about an inch, which is right here to my first knuckle, and I will just gently touch the soil and go down 1 inch. And if it comes up dry, I know it is time for watering. Another thing I do when it comes to watering is to add a layer of mulch on top of the soil. So here is the mulch that I have on top of my soil, which is just pine bark. And what that does is it tends to keep the roots cool and to help to retain moisture. So moisture does not escape that quickly from the soil. So some weeks I may not water my Thyrallis because I check to ensure whether or not it needs watering. So I don't water it just because it's been a week. I will check first to ensure that it needs watering. When it comes to soil, your Thyrallis will grow and thrive in just about any soil. However, a well-draining soil mix, if grown in a container, is ideal, which is what I have in this container. It's also important to ensure that your container has a drainage hole, so the excess water will flow freely through the soil and out through the drainage hole. And another thing, is also important to empty the container or the saucer that catches the water to ensure your Thyrallis is not sitting in water. When it comes to fertilization, if it's out in the landscape, your Thyrallis does not need anything extra. For me, growing my Thyrallis in a container, I will top it off with a slow release fertilizer in early spring. When it comes to pruning, your Thyrallis does not need pruning unless you're trying to maintain a certain height or a certain shape. Other than that, there is no need to prune your Thyrallis. You'll also notice that it grows in a rounded kind of mounding shape, which is really fun. And I like the fact that it is airy, so you can easily see through the plant. That means air can freely flow through the plant. So it's bright, it's airy, it throws off eye-catching yellow blooms that are fragrant. It's deer resistant, it's low maintenance, and it blooms profusely for months. What's not to love? So again, my top reasons for growing Thyrallis is one, it is low maintenance. There is no pruning, nothing involved. Just water your plant, fertilize in early spring if it's in a container, and that's it. Two, I love it because of the splash of color that just brings you so much joy for months. The third reason I love Thyrallis is because it's basically disease and pest free. One reason for that is because it is an airy plant. You can easily see through the plant. That means air can easily travel through the plant, which is awesome. The fourth reason I love growing Thyrallis is because it's not a favorite of deers. So I'm in zone 8A and deers tend to nibble the plants in my garden. However, the Thyrallis is one plant that they stay away from. And the fifth reason I love Thyrallis is because of these berries. And the berries become seed and they propagate very easily from seed. That means I can have more plants or gift the seedlings to family or friends. So those are my five top reasons for loving Thyrallis. Okay, friends, thank you so very much for sticking with me as I profile one of my favorite tropical, perennial, evergreen plant, Thyrallis. You will love it because of the splash of color that it provides for months. Thank you so very much for watching. I really appreciate your support and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.